Hi FOSDEM 2022 online watchers. Today we speak about Oniro blueprints. First we will introduce ourselves, then we will explain about the Oniro project and how we calling blueprints inside this project. Then my colleague will show you some demos and we will share hints how to get started with Oniro and how to create your own demos for next FOSDEM edition, right? And then we wrap it up and answer some questions. So who are we? Obviously we are part of the Eclipse Oniro project, and also we are members of Huawei Open Source Technology Center, which is an open source team decentralized worldwide, mostly in Europe, but not only. Oniro is one of our main projects, but we are also doing upstream development in a related project when there is a need for. And myself, I'm coming from technical background. Maybe you saw me at a previous edition of FOSDEM, and I play a senior technical marketing role inside this team. And my guest, Andrei Gherzan, is our principal solution architect inside the team. And I want to also give credit to everyone that's been involved into Oniro blueprints, because it's a teamwork, and we've been working with people from OSTC, but also partners of Eclipse Oniro project. What is the Oniro project? It's an open source distributed operating system for IoT devices. What do I mean by IoT device? Well, depends. It can be very, very wide, from very small device where there is very few resources to bigger one. So that's the challenge of Oniro. How can we make some systems that can work with such kind of different devices? And how do we do it? Well, we want to defragment the development for embedded system. We want to break technology silos. It can be a feature of the system, but it can be also the ecosystem for the software development. It can be very difficult to move from one platform to another. There is a lot of dependencies that are specific to the platform, and it's making the developer life quite difficult. So we can simplify this by unifying the tools. This means how do you build a software, and there is, even if you are working on different range of devices, you are writing code, and there is a lot of common policies that can be applied different depending on the context. So that's the challenge of the Oniro project. And now let me explain about who is hosting the Oniro project. Before I answer this very important question, let me share you some background story. Before the project was even called Oniro, Huawei Open Source Technology Center, OSTC, was working on an operating system for IoT. Yeah, the very same one that's been presented at FOSDEM 2021. This project was open source and open development, so the new members joined in, and then it was quite logical to have a bigger structure to take care of the future of the project. So at the end of year 2021, the project has been relocated from OSTC to an Eclipse Foundation. Now it's a top-level project under Eclipse Open Governance. So this means that the decision inside the project is made by a working group. Huawei OSTC is one member of this group, but there are also others. And it's quite interesting to have this neutral approach if you want to reach some IoT interoperability and to have more flexible operating system. The most diversity we have in the decision is making the project more open and more suitable for its vision. At the same time, this project has been designed to be OpenHarmony compatible. OpenHarmony is also another operating system which is open source, of course, and the project is hosted by Open Atom Foundation, which is China based. And here we are in a situation we have two different foundations. We are working together for a global open source project. That's quite challenging if you take into account all the specificities on China, Europe, United States, and so on. Each have a different approach, different cultural, different technical background, different way to do open source, and the way software is used also depending on the territory. Regulation can differ from one country to another, so we have to adapt all those specificities for different places, but some things, some common ground can be reused from different contexts. So that's the challenge of Oniro, and it's open to anyone, so you can feel free to join us. What's inside the Oniro platform? Well, it's a standard software base for making product and solution. This means we are not reinventing everything from scratch. We are based on mature open source project. If they're not yet mature enough, we'll try to improve them to achieve the required quality, and we try to identify existing components that can be available in the community and trying to fill the gap if there is some feature missing, and then we are integrating back into Oniro. That's quite a common approach in open source software. Let's explain with an example. Because we want to support a different range of IoT devices, we are using Linux on big devices that cannot really work well on smaller ones. So instead of making fit Linux into smaller device, we try to identify a RTOS that is more relevant, and then we are integrating into Oniro. So today we are working with Linux on Zephyr, and also we are ongoing work with LightOS. Both will not run at the same time, but they will try to be used depending on the context, of course. Anyway, even if we are working on different devices, there is a lot of things that can be factorized. For instance, the way to build firmware. We can reuse a build system from OpenEmbedded and Yocto, which is based on BitBake. That's a tool maybe you already know, and that can be reused for also supporting other operating systems. That's something convenient. If working well, there is no need to not use it. That's what we try to change into the software industry. So in the end, Oniro becomes a point of convergence, because each feature can coming from a microcontroller, for instance, or for a CPU, but if the code is generic enough, it can be shared among different profile of device. So in the end, we have Oniro becoming like a point of convergence where the code can be shared into a common place that can be reused in different contexts. So what does Oniro provide to its users? Of course, even if we share this open source code base, without this community, it can be almost useless. So to prevent this, we defined and implemented the best practice we learned in the software industry for years. We are coming from open source background, so we set up open development model. This means the code is reviewed by the community, and also we are setting up a GitLab flow using for continuous integration, different kind of check, and we are testing on supported devices. We are checking for the quality of code, but not only that, we are also taking care about the legal approach. This means that we make sure that the code can be shipped into products. That's sooner problems are detected, better it is, because that's something you cannot replace at the last minute. If there is some patent infringement or something you cannot distribute in some territory, sooner problems are identified, better it is. Talking about scanning, of course, we are scanning for security and also trying to apply latest vulnerabilities known in dependencies and so on. That's a part of our security team duty. And we have also strong interest into privacy. Let me explain a little bit because that's something maybe not obvious. For instance, Oniro is mostly targeting the European markets. This means we need to comply the Gdpr regulation. Maybe you all know about GDPR, but if you look at Article 25, maybe you don't know about it. It's quite interesting for our open source project, because if this article recommends systems to be privacy by design and by default. So we can take this into account at the specification level and